My name is Mike Thomas. I'm the CEO of Appian Medical, and I'm here today to talk to you about SnoreSounds. It's our innovative technology for diagnosing sleep apnea using just a smartphone. So what is obstructive sleep apnea? OSA results from repeated airway collapse during sleep. It can occur hundreds of times throughout the night and reduces the amount of oxygen that circulates in your blood. This is what your airway looks like when it's normal and open. And this is what your airway looks like when you have an apneic event and it's closed. OSA is a very prevalent disease. Over 100 million people globally suffer from sleep apnea. It's a disease that as we get older and heavier as a population, it becomes more prevalent. Up to 85% of these patients are undiagnosed, and untreated sleep apnea can cause or worsen other chronic and costly disorders such as high blood pressure and diabetes. Sleep medicine researchers have found over the past 2 decades that there are nearly 36 disease states that are worsened by undiagnosed sleep apnea. If you have undiagnosed and untreated sleep apnea, you have a 5-fold increase in the risk of a cardiovascular event. You have a 7-fold increase in the risk of a car accident, and a 2-fold increase in the risk of stroke. If you have undiagnosed and untreated sleep apnea, you have a 4-fold increase in death in the next 4 years. Healthcare costs for untreated sleep apnea patients are twice as high as those without sleep apnea. And yes, this is what Joe looks like when he's told he needs to have a sleep study. So is it really that bad? Well, take a look. This is what it looks like when you have a sleep study. You're in a strange room, you're in a strange bed, you have 36 wires hooked all over your body, you're in your pajamas, and some stranger is watching you. This test is called polysomnography, or PSG for short. You need a physician's referral in order to get a sleep study. It's obviously a very uncomfortable testing environment. It's not your own bedroom. It can take as long as 6 months sometimes to actually get a sleep study. It's extremely costly. And many of these tests failed simply because of the complexity of hooking up all of these wires. And clinical research has actually documented that as many as 40% of these tests have a false negative rate. So obviously this test is not suitable for mass screening for a disease like sleep apnea that is so prevalent. There are other technologies available, and they're called in-home sleep testing devices. They too require physician prescriptions. They can be very uncomfortable. These devices are shipped directly to a patient, and they have to self-administer this test at home, and so oftentimes it needs additional training for that patient. These tests can be very expensive also. And in order to get an accurate diagnostic read, sometimes you have to have multiple nights of testing with these devices. So completion rates, as you can imagine, can be very unreliable. So what's a sleep apnea patient to do? Well, at Appian Medical, we actually have an elegant solution. We call this solution SnoreSounds. So what is SnoreSounds? Simply put, SnoreSounds is a form of artificial intelligence. It's a neural network algorithm that has been validated to diagnose sleep apnea from sound analysis just as accurately as a sleep lab. You can embed this algorithm in any kind of platform, a smartphone app, a wearable sensor, a hardware semiconductor chip, medical device. The location of these devices doesn't matter. It could be in the home, in the hospital, nearly anywhere. Appian Medical will first commercialize SnoreSounds in the form of a smartphone app. As you have seen with polysomnography and in-home sleep apnea testing devices, SnoreSounds has significant benefits over our competition. We have incredible clinical evidence that shows that our technology is just as accurate as a sleep lab. We had 2 studies that were conducted by the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. These 2 studies showed that our test is as accurate as a sleep lab or polysomnography test, as much as 93%. So at Appian Medical, we have a vision. We are going to lead the way in terms of bringing innovative mobile health solutions and technologies to the diagnosis of sleep apnea. But our greater vision really is to stay at the vanguard of our consumer-directed diagnostic movement. We want to empower patients to be able to detect disease risks earlier, to possibly manage their disease better, and possibly even prevent a disease exacerbation. And our first disease state that we're targeting is sleep apnea. Our business model has two components. The first component deals with our smartphone app and a direct-to-consumer business. We will be focusing on revenue streams that are centered around the sleep apnea testing process. Our second part of our business model really is more of a B2B play, where we will license our technology with our software platform to different types of medical device companies and healthcare services companies. They can be sleep apnea therapy device companies, wearable fitness monitor companies, health sensor companies, disease management firms, and even healthcare insurance companies. The management team has built over half a dozen startup healthcare technology ventures, raised over $125 million, and delivered shareholder returns that range anywhere from 4x to over 80 times the return on their money. So the funding that Appian Medical is seeking is a seed round of $1 million. We're actually halfway there now. After we close our seed round funding, we will follow on with a Series A round of $2 to $4 million that will carry us through the direct-to-consumer clearance that we need from the FDA so that we can promote our SnoreSounds technology. So in summary, the Appian Medical opportunity deals with an absolutely massive market, over 100 million undiagnosed sleep apnea patients. It's an unsolved problem. Current technologies are not effective at diagnosing, and the Appian solution is very elegant, low cost, easy to use, highly scalable, and very high margin. And we have a team that has delivered significant shareholder results over a half a dozen startup technology companies. This is the Appian Medical story. Thank you for your time.